All right, all right. Welcome to today's session. Welcome. It's gonna be a great day. So I'm waiting for others to join the stream. I feel so pumped, and what we're about to do is something really fantastic. It's gonna improve your skill in DevOps, cloud, and software development. All right, so I'm just waiting for people to join the stream. Kindly share this in your network, share it on your WhatsApp for people to join the stream. All right. Okay, we're seeing more people join the stream. If you can hear me, please just put some comments in the chat box, the chat section. If you can hear me, say hi. People are joining the stream. Welcome, guys. Welcome. All right, all right. This is going to be a very technical session, and even if you're new here, you will still have to go through. Even if you're new to DevOps, you still have to go through some of the boring stuff you already know, just so we can accommodate everyone because we people have different levels of. Okay, someone says they can hear me. This is good. Good. Abdullah Abu. I'm sorry if I if I didn't pronounce your name, but welcome. It's good to have you around. More people joining the stream. So we're going to cover everything from start to finish: the boring stuff, the interesting stuff, the very technical stuff. Yeah, just checking on the chat. Oh, there's someone here saying, "Hey, people, I'm excited to be here. Looking forward to an exciting time learning." Great. That's from a LinkedIn user. Fantastic. Welcome. It's nice having you here. We're waiting for more people to join the stream. We'll be starting in a few seconds, actually. In a few seconds, we would start checking my charts to see what is going on there. Okay. Welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Seconds, actually. All right. Let me share my screen and let's get to it. All right. So, this is what we are doing today. We are talking about this containerize. How can we containerize and deploy a Next.js app or React app per se on AWS App Runner? So this is exactly what we're going to do. And if you check the description, if you check the description of this, just check the description of this stream, you would see a link. This link has something called project steps.md. So this is the entire step. We have 8 simple steps to follow to get these things done. So let's get to it. I am gonna open my Kiro IDE and show you. Wow, wow, wow. Sorry about that, guys. Lost some people in the stream, but we're back. Nigeria tried its best to make sure this doesn't happen, and we're still here, and this is going to happen. Well done, Nigeria. Moving on. I'm just going to open my Kiro IDE and just show you what we are trying to deploy. Npm run dev. Yes, so this is what we're trying to deploy. Is a project I'm actually working on. If you can still hear me, just type in the chat that you can hear me. Um, I'll like your response. Just let me know if you can still hear me. Yes. So this is what we're going to deploy. I built this, but it's still a work in progress. It's an AI powered social media automation platform. So the idea with this is that for those who don't like to create or schedule their to manage it, we will build an agent that will do everything for you end to end, and all you just have to do is just type on prompt and it's going to manage your calendar for an entire month or a year. So that's the idea for this, right? A work in progress. So if I click on start, create an account, I've already created an account. So this is just a flow of what we already have running. So if I come here and I try to sign in, this is connected to a Supabase. It's connected to a Supabase database, right? So um, creating a post doesn't work for now because it's still a work in progress, but you can connect your social media account and you have a dashboard. So that's what is currently available. The idea is this is what we are going to deploy today, right? And the cool thing about what we are trying to do is that it's not peculiar to this particular repo or this particular um, project. It is set up in a way that you can use this to deploy any React framework, any Next.js application, right? So it's not agnostic to this particular project. But I'm using this as an example. I would advise that you have something called Kiro IDE or just have an agentic IDE that you can use to build anything. If you don't have a project, download Kiro or use Chat GPT or use Claude code and just use that to just create a sample project, something very simple, and then we'll get to it. So I am going to open this again. Yes, so the first step, we'll go through the boring stuff. Step one to step three is actually very boring. For those who are just joining, if you want to see this, check the description of this stream and you would see this project steps.md file, and you use that to follow up with what I'm trying to do. Or you can even go ahead of me since the steps are already listed there. So the first thing is to download and install Docker. The idea is we are Dockerizing the entire application, containerizing, right? So for those who don't know what containers are, I'm just going to explain it in plain terms. So containers are basically a standalone unit, right? That is standalone unit for your application, right? Meaning you can run your application without necessarily having an OS, right? You don't need an operating system to run that application. It's lightweight and it's actually portable, meaning anybody who has that exact image can run that application without even installing anything, right? So that's the reason, that's the idea of containers, right? So you have any form of application, it runs in a container. It is something that can that is portable, right? And in most cases actually lightweight and doesn't need to have an OS, right? So that's for people who are not actually in DevOps, just so you understand. where we are coming from, right? So we are trying to containerize this Next.js app. And to do this, you need something called Docker, right? So you can just search for Docker, or you click on this link here. Click on the link and you will see Docker here. So my advice is for you to download Docker Desktop, right? So this is what you'll be using depending on your OS here. Just download what is suitable for your OS. Uh-huh. All right. So that is Docker. Once you have Docker installed, I'm just going to run Docker here. Yep. So this is Docker. This is how it looks, right? Now, the next step is to I am looking for that particular. Just give me a minute. Um, 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 I have a lot of tabs open. Yeah, steps.md. So the next step is to install AWS CLI. So why do we need to install AWS CLI? So AWS CLI is the CLI package we need so that we can connect our current machine, this your laptop, to AWS cloud. And a prerequisite for this is you need to have an AWS account to do this, right? So I just believe you must have created your AWS account already. So once you've created your AWS account, you now need to install the AWS CLI. So the CLI is what you use to connect your computer to AWS cloud. Um, just gonna close this so my laptop doesn't hang. Yep. Now we have more space to accommodate. Yeah. All right. So if you follow that link or you just do a Google search for AWS CLI, you should come here and then you will see how to install it for your computer. I'm currently using a Mac OS and it's quite easy to do that here. It's just to follow this command and that's pretty much it, right? So I think you should do the same to install AWS CLI if you don't have that already. If you're using Windows, the setup is also here. There's also like an exe setup for you to use to install AWS CLI. So once you're done installing AWS CLI, just open your favorite terminal and just confirm if it is actually installed. I'm going to increase the size of this and just do AWS version. Okay, this shouldn't take so much time. All right, so we see AWS CLI 2.2, 2.22 currently installed. So we have that prerequisite already. So the next thing in the steps is to configure your AWS CLI. And why am I always missing this? Yes, so it's to configure your AWS CLI. I'm just going to go to my AWS account. For those who do not know about this, how to do this, you need to you need to come to your AWS account and then go to your IAM. You need IAM, and what you're trying to do is to create like an access key, right? These access keys are kind of like your credentials you use to configure your AWS CLI. So I come here and I look for that particular user. I have this user here. I go to security. I might be a bit too fast That's why I said if you check the this post, there's a link there that has some of the steps that can assist you. So you come to security credentials and then try and look for your access keys. I already have these access keys here, but you would create them, right? So I wrote a post about this. If I check my dev.to account, I actually wrote a blog post on how to quickly do all of this. I think this one, yes. So I'm just doing the boring stuff for now. So these are the steps to once you already have a user and you created the access key, the next thing is to configure it. And to configure the access key, you just need to do AWS configure. This is because the reason why this would work is because you already have your CLI installed, right? AWS key ID, putting your access key secrets, and then you just leave the region as default. So it's usually on US East 1, and then default for the format, right? So this configures your AWS CLI, right? So once you've done this, it's going to create. Okay, oops, cd slash AWS. It's going to create this, right? And you should have these files, right? You should have a credentials and a config file. Credentials and the config files, you just have your details in terms of like your access keys and your secret keys and all that. So with that being said, the next thing we need to do, just gonna, uh, I'm just gonna open that gist again. I think this is the file. Yep. So we have one, two, three, the boring stuff, and four done. So the next thing is step five. Now, step five is where things get actually very, very interesting. Um, I'm gonna do this. We now need to use the Docker file. So I created this Docker file already, and I'm just gonna share this with you because it works with any of these applications. As far as it's React based or Next.js based, this would actually work. Um, so we would explain everything here, but for now, I need to share this with you. With you. So I'm just going to create a new gist. I'll create a new gist and just call it Dockerfile. It's going to be a public gist. I'm doing this so I can share these. Yep, just going to copy this. I'll put it in the chat. Um, yes, so you can access this Docker file. Now let's explain what is going on there and what a Docker file actually is for those who do not know, because I can't just assume everybody here knows DevOps. So a Docker file is a set of instructions that actually defines how your Docker image is built. Remember, you are trying to create a container of this application I just showed you earlier. Let me show you again for those who came later. Let me show you that application again. So this application runs normally, but we are trying to containerize it, right? We want it to run in a container, and we're using Docker to do that, right? This application, we're using Docker to containerize this application. So what it does is that the Docker file just has a set of instructions of how to build an image. So you create a container out of an image. I hope that's not confusing. You create containers out of an image, right? So this is the set of instructions. That's why you need to have this Docker file. You can look through it. So there are different kinds of Docker files. This is the juicy part now. There are regular Docker files, and then there are multi-stage build Docker files. The regular Docker files, it, sometimes they are even shorter than this, but these files, it just builds everything at once for you. The binaries, everything is just packed together, right? And when it's packed together, the size is probably very large. You see your Docker image gets to like 1 gig or 2 gig, sometimes 5 gig, and that's why we use a multi-stage build. So a multi-stage build will reduce the size of that image to almost 90%, if not more than. The size of this, once we build this, we will see is going to be around 100 and something MB, which is fantastic. So let's run through all these steps here. So each line is called a layer. Each command is called a layer in Docker. So the first thing we're trying to do is we're saying from node 20 Alpine, right? Node 20 Alpine is a base image. It's kind of like the base OS you want to build from, OS operating system you want to build from. So we're saying let's use this Node Alpine base image. And this Node Alpine base image was actually created for Node.js itself, anything running on Node.js engine, and it's running as a dependency. That's why we put this here. So things like this, you won't find them in your regular Docker files, right? So it's running as a dependency. All this here, they are all running as dependencies. So the next thing is to create a working directory. The working directory is called app. So this is just going to create a folder called app, and then it's going to copy the package.json to dot slash that particular working directory. Package.json is usually a file that has all the dependencies that the application depends on, all the packages that's been installed. All right. So, and then it's going to run this as npm CI. So, npm CI is actually a command in npm. Yes. So, it's going to run npm CI. The next thing is the build stage, right? So, with this build stage, after we've already done worked on the dependency stage, the next thing is the build stage. I just need to check if I still have people following me. Just check. Okay, we have some people there. All right. The next thing is the build stage, the builder stage. As you can see, we should use the same base image, but we call this the builder. So these are whatever we have here, builder or dependencies. These are just tags, right, to identify a specific stage in multi-build process. We're still defining the working directory here, and then we are copying everything from this dependency stage, right? We're copying everything there. We're also copying the node modules, which we are copying the node modules from here, right? Because if you run npm install or npm CI, it's going to create a node module folder. Even if you run it locally, this node module folder of everything that is, we're copying everything there, and then we are going to run build. This is a command to just build the entire application. So after building the entire application, we are now going to the final stage here. This final stage is the runner stage, right? In this stage, it's going to strip out most of the dependencies and everything and just have, it's going to run it, and then in the end we'll have just the binary, right? Just the major things that this application needs to run. And we are defining it as the runner, the same base image. We defined the working directory again, and then port 30. Normally without Docker, this application runs on port 3000, sorry. Right. It runs on port 3000. I'm gonna show you something. Yeah. So it runs on port 3000. For you, this port might be a different port depending on how your project is set up. So this is the only thing that might be different in terms of everything you are doing here, right? You can just change your port to whatever port your application is running on. And then the host name, this is very important for deployment. You have to put this here. So for deployment, it needs to be running on this 0.0.0.0. And what are we doing? We're copying all of this from this builder stage. And then we're exposing the ports so that when we run this container, these ports can actually be available, can be exposed for communication. And then the cmd command just has, this is the image, this is the command you should run to start the entire application, and that's what it does here. All right, so we've explained that. So the next thing we want to do now is to build this image. All right, so I'm going to zoom in a bit, and then I'll just do a docker images. These Docker commands. If you're not familiar with Docker, you might want to take some crash courses or just watch what I'm doing, and then I'll explain everything to you. So now we want to create this image, and there's a command to do that. You just do docker build -t, and then you call what name do I want to give this image? I already created one before called qflux, right? So I'm just going to call this qflux. And then once you put this semicolon, the semicolon means the tag, because you can have one image and the image has different versions, right? So the image versions is what you actually would want to call the tag. And I'll just call this latest. It can be anything. Latest, version 1, version 2, whatever you want to put there. So let me just call it latest. But I'm not going to click build yet. The reason why I'm not going to click build, this is the regular command, if you do this, it's going to work fine, perfectly, right? But it's not going to run in production. And I'll tell you why. It's not going to run in production because AWS App Runner, let's just open App Runner here. And I'll tell you why we're using App Runner. Because first of all, it's very cheap. It is easy to set up, right? AWS App Runner the platform it runs on is a Linux AMD 64 platform. So if you just run this, it's going to build this image based on the platform of that's the chip of your own computer, right? So if you're using a Windows, it's going to use, I think, Win 64 or ARM, whatever you're using is what is going to build it on, and it would not work on App Runner. So how can we modify this? The best way to modify this is to define the platform. So I'm going to add a platform there and then put Linux slash AMD 64. AMD 64. And this command is not complete. There's one last thing we usually would forget is to put the dot there. So if I do this, oops. Okay, so this reason why I'm getting this error is because this -t should be after the platform is defined. Right, so I'm just going to put it here and just platform. Spelling of platform is wrong. Just put it there. Okay. Docker build. I'm sorry you guys are seeing my errors. Docker build, yes. So it's Docker build, and then you define the platform, and then all of that. So it builds for me very fast because I have already built this image before. So it is just using the same layers. So for you, when you run this, it might take some time. Let me just copy this and just put it in the chat for those who. Oh my god, my screen is not showing. Oh, oh my. So I've just been talking to myself. This is crazy. Can you guys see my screen now? Sorry about that. Can you please tell me where I stopped so I can just continue from there where you stopped? Um, just let me know because I can't share my screen and at the same time monitor the chat. It's actually very difficult to do both things at the same time. Um, okay, so I'll just keep going. I think so. I just assume that I stopped here. Where did I stop? Yeah. So this is the command to build with, right? Docker build dash platform and then the Linux slash AMD 64. We're just defining the platform you want to build on, and then dash T, and then the name of your application. This could be anything, but Qflux is what I'm using, and then the tag, right? So the tag is actually your version, right? Let me just check again to be very sure. To be very sure, please check your screen. We are only seeing your handsome face. Oh my God. Let me stop again and share my screen again. It's actually very hard moderating and handling a session at the same time. Okay, let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? So I'm just going to check on my other devices before I continue, just so I'm not talking to myself. Um, so you have to be patient with me. Let me check on my other device. Uh, okay, someone says they can see my screen. Finally, thank you. Uh, all right, let's go straight to it. So this is the command qflux here can be anything, the name of your application, and then the latest here can just be your image tag. I just got a DM now again that they're not seeing my screen. What is going on? What exactly is going on? I'm just okay. Oh my. Okay, so let's continue. Um, yes, please. Oh, fantastic. Good, 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 good. So once you do this, you can now build that image, right? It is very fast for me because I've already built this before. So it uses the same layer of the Docker layer as it has before, as we're currently using. For you, it might take some 5 minutes depending on your the RAM of your computer of how fast it's going to build. So the next thing is to do a Docker images to check all the images that are being built, and I can see this as built. And to be very sure that this works before we deploy, we have to run it. To run it, you need to use this command. I said I was going to publish this in the chats just for people who do not know about this. Yep. So Docker build, I want to run this image, right? So I'm just going to Docker run dash IT. IT means interactive terminal, right? And then dash P means the port. Remember, this application runs on port 3000, right? So I want to open that port. This is my local port, and this is going to be the port of my container, mapping both of them together. Then I'm going to call that image name here and then add the tag, which is latest. It could be anything. Once I run this, ports are not available. So the reason why it's not working for me like this is because remember I used npm to run this application and it's already using this port. So this port is not available. I just need to stop this application running natively, and then we will do that again. Yep. So we now have that port available, and it's running because I'm using a MacBook. I specify Linux platform, but anyways, it's still going to work. It's just a warning. If I check this now, I should be able to access the same application. Let's log in. Fantastic, we're in. So we've fulfilled the first part of everything we want to do today. We said containerize and deploy. The containerized part is working now, meaning I can share this image. If I do a Docker image now, Docker images, sorry, it means I can share this image with anybody around the world, anywhere, and the application would run exactly the same way without saying, oh, it's my computer. It's not working in my computer. You get that kind of scenario. It won't happen when you actually containerize your application. So this is actually a professional way. Uh-huh. So that is to DPS. To deploy this now, we need to create our. Just going to check this document again. We need to create an ECR repo, right? Yes. So that is step. We've already done step 5. Set up the Dockerfile. Step 6, build Docker image. Now step 7 is to create the ECR repo. So ECR is basically the same thing as Docker Hub, but on AWS. You guys know what Docker Hub is now. So Docker Hub is kind of like a repository. It's a repository where people, sorry, let me just open it here. Docker Hub. So Docker Hub is a repository where people push their images to, their container images to. As you can see here, there are all kinds of images for all kinds of applications, for all kinds of things, right? SQL, database, whatever you want, Grafana, Bash, everything is just here. So AWS has its own service that does the same thing, and it's called ECR. So ECR means Elastic Container Registry. So with your AWS account, you can just come here and just search for ECR. And with ECR, you can now create your own repo, right? You can create your own private repo, and that's where we'll be pushing this container image to. Let me check again. Okay, we have people. Yep. Okay. So we have ECR now. So the next thing is to create a repo. These steps are actually very, very simple. I don't know if I can edit live streaming and just remove the parts where we had some electrical blackouts because of Nigeria. But anyways, moving on. Top right corner, you see create repository. Click on that. Then you can give your repository a name. It could be anything. I'm just going to call this QFlux because that's the name of my application. And then that's all I need to do here. Actually, there's no need to click on any other thing. Just click on create. Now, this creates the repo for you. And you can see this is the ARM number there. And then I can go into this repo and we have nothing there, no images, right? So what we want to do is to push QFlux latest to this image repository. Okay, I will just click on view push command, and this is a cheat sheet. Everything you need to do is just here. You don't have to be very smart to do these things. It's laid out there for you. And the first step is for us to log in, right? We need to, the same way you do Docker login, to so your computer can actually connect to the online service. Same thing we're doing here with AWS. So I'm just going to copy this, not give it them. I just put this here. We should see login successful, login succeed here. Just waiting for that. Let me check if my screen is still sharing. I stopped sharing again. This is crazy. I don't know why it keeps stop. It stops sharing. For those who know me, you can check. Just message me on my DM if my screen stops sharing. So you let me know. And I don't know where I stopped this time again. This is crazy. Next time I'm going to have somebody manage be a manager of the charts and everything while I work. Because it's crazy. So like I said earlier, there's this push view push command, right? And I'm just going to copy this here. That's what I did in case you guys missed it. And then go to my IDE and just paste it there. That's what I did here. And now we can see login succeeded, right? So the next thing now is to still go back here, check the push commands, and the next thing is to build the image. We have already built this, so step 2 doesn't apply to us. Step 3 is for us to now tag. So what we are doing is to tag our current local image to this particular repo, right? So I'm just going to copy the exact command here, saying docker tag qflux latest, which is what we have in our local, and then to this is what we have in the remote. This is the remote directory here. So I'm just going to paste that here. Good. So if I do docker images again, I can now see this here, right? So the idea is to now push this. This might take some minutes, but let's do it. I hope it doesn't take that much time. I'll just copy step 4 and paste it here. Ha 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 ha. All right. So let me check if I'm still sharing my screen. Okay. Oh, Kunle, I see you. Kunle is already a pro in this thing. I don't know. Maybe he's here to support. But anyways, yeah. I should reshare my screen again. I thought my screen is sharing. Someone says I should reshare again. This is crazy. Let me just do that again. And please pardon the noise in my background. Very soon I'll get a proper studio and we will be doing this in week. All right. So I'm sure you can see my screen. So I'll just go back and you can see this here. So I'll tell you why you need to use App Runner, right? I'm going to do that advertisement now. So the reason why we are doing using App Runner is because first of all, App Runner is actually very cheap compared to the other AWS services. Right? So we have EC2, right? We also have okay. We also have ECS, and then we have EKS. These are the major container. You can run containers. You can run containers. Okay, they've told me that they can see my screen now. Let me check. Okay, okay, all right. These are like the services you can use to run containers. ECS is Elastic Container Service. EKS is Elastic Kubernetes Service, and EC2 is actually Elastic Compute Service, Compute Cloud, actually. So these three, you use them to run containers, but App Runner seems to be the best, and I'll show you proof. So I have, if I have was this one, and I have a reason why I leave this field some services running. I will show you my bill for. So as you can see here, my bill for last month. Last month I had just five App Runner services running, and it cost me just $71. If I were to use any of these for a month, at the least I'll be having is $300, $500. We're not even talking EKS. EKS can get to thousands of dollars just to run containers there. So for lightweight applications, App Runner is actually the best option. It's not free. There's nothing free in this life. there's, not, there's nothing free in this life, but it's actually the chest. And for you to run just this just means for an average, you are spending close to 10 $15 per month. $10 to $15. Let's just say $10, right? $10 to $15 per month. So the max you can get is $20, right, per month to run container services. There are other options you can use. You can decide to convert your application into a Lambda application, and then you pay for what you use because it's serverless. But because we are running containers, it won't work with Lambda, right? So it's a different kind of architecture. Good. So we have this pushed already. I hope I've been able to convince and not to confuse you that you should start using AWS App Runner. Yes, so we've pushed that image there. If we refresh this repository, we should see that there. Good. We can see it's there. This is the image. And then this leads us to the last step of today, the deployment step. Step 7. We are deploying that image to App Runner. After all the ads I've done for App Runner, as I should, we would open App Runner again. Just come here, just search for App Runner. Right. So App Runner also scales. It has most of the same characteristics as the other compute services, right? It has most of it. It scales production. I don't think you can SSH into your App Runner. Stop sharing again. I just need to keep checking. I have no idea why this thing stops sharing. No freaking idea. So every instant I always have to check. This is crazy. So I just hope you guys saw the part where I was talking about the costs of App Runner. So I'm just going to open this here. Where is my App Runner? Here. And very easy. You can just create a new service, and then where you have the source, this is where we're trying to point to the image we are building on. And then I click on choose repository. And for you, you might probably just have just one. I have all of these because I've been working on different projects. So Qflux is the one I created, and the image tag by default is latest because we have one image there. And then click on continue. Leave your trigger as a manual trigger, and then create a new service role. I have done this before, so I already have a service role here, right? But for you, once you click on it, it's just going to create that service role. So create new. Don't follow what I'm doing. I am just going to choose this so I don't create this role multiple times. You click on next. Next thing here is you want to give it a name. And I'm just going to call this Qflux. Qflux, the name of your service. And then in terms of your vCPUs, using one vCPU and 2 gig virtual memory seems to be the best option so far. It's going to work fine. And the port, like I said earlier, we are running on what port 3000. Just going to put 3000 there. Aha, great. So this particular part, don't miss it. It's called the health check. If you don't have a health check, the application will fail and you wonder why it is failing without knowing it's actually from the health check. I'm doing this because it has happened to me countless times, and I'm just giving you a heads up of what to do. So for that to work, it means in your application you need to have a health check route. Whoever is building it, whether it's you, and these things are easy to build. Use whatever IDE, use the agent there, tell it create a a health check endpoint, meaning API slash health check. And if you check here or health, I already have that endpoints created here. So this will be used to check if your application is actually working really fine, right? It's kind of like a an endpoint you use to check how your application is doing, if there's any issues, right? I've stopped sharing again. Again. I would just have to check the YouTube live to see what is going on there. Stop sharing again. Okay. So someone just messaged me that I've stopped sharing, but I can see here on the live. Just have to check the YouTube that I am back up live to see. Thank you for this person. Keep sending me messages. Keep sending me messages if I stop sharing. I appreciate that. Okay, so some people say the link is not working. We would have to put some. We have to put some better administration to this next time. Um, Sorry about that. So let's get to deployment. So health check. So you need to have when you before you build your application, right? Before you build your Docker image or your Docker image, yes, you need to have this health check endpoint. So API slash health, and use whatever IDE. Just have to keep checking this thing. Whatever IDE you're using to the agent to create one for you. So here the protocol is going to be an HTTP protocol, and then the endpoint is going to be yes API slash health, like we said earlier. I'm going to make this 5 seconds just so if anything breaks, tell me fast. Okay, it has to be greater than. Okay, the timeout. I'm going to put 6. I just don't want us to waste time if there is any issue. So I put 3 here. So the unhealthy threshold is just going to check this 3 times. So we know quickly that there's a problem. Yes. So in terms of security, you're not doing anything there. In fact, you're not even doing anything again. To tell you how simple this thing is, you just need to define. You just need to define the name, the amount of resources you're using here, put in your ports, and then health check, and that's all. So click next. Good. And this has a review of everything. Right. Yes. So looks good. And you can click deploy. So the deployment here is not so straightforward. It takes some, if everything goes right, 5 to 10 minutes. So in that 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to take questions and also show you around some other things here. Let's first of all, because we need to check the logs. There are 2 logs here. So there's the App Runner event log. In fact, there are 3 logs. Okay, technically there are 2 logs, but we have 3 things we can look at. So first thing it did is to try and pull that image. That's the artifact from ECR. And this is the event log. It has successfully pulled it. There's also this deployment log here. We can check that to see what's going on. And you can see this handles the deployment. It has pulled the image. And then our application log hasn't started because it's not, it hasn't started working on getting the application to work. So we would, okay, good. So our application log should work now. Have we seen any application logs yet? We should be seeing application logs. Good. So here we can see here that it did the health check and checked this part. And most times people who use App Runner, they fail this part. This is where they fail it. Health checks. And you can't troubleshoot here for an hour if you don't look at the right places. So let's check our application log. Good. So this is what we have here. Right. We have, if you can see, the network part here is 0.0.0.0, not the regular local host. The regular local host IP 127.128 out. You know the IP address. Now, I will show you a mistake that we usually make. And I'm just showing you this so you will know when you're trying to do it by yourself, you might face it. Now, this was a failed service instance I tried to pull off, and you see this. Look at the IP address here. So the IP address being used here is the container IP, not like a public local IP. It's the container IP. So this would not route traffic. Do you get? And it's going to fail. And if you check these logs here, see what the log said. Health check failed. Check your ports. This is very misleading. Very, very misleading. That's why we have sessions like this to show you things that are very misleading and find ways for you to solve. So I go through the hard part for you, and it failed. So if you look at this log now, as an engineer, the first thing you think is maybe there's a problem with my ports, or maybe there's a problem with the health check parts that I inserted. But everything is correct. Why did it still fail? Is this is a subtle difference, right? So it's supposed to be 0.0.0.0. Let me check if I have stopped sharing. Okay. Right. So that's something you need to watch out for when you are trying to do this by yourself. So if we go back now and check our Qflux, I think deployment is complete. Yes, so you see successfully routed incoming traffic to application, and this is the deployment ID. So this is the endpoint. Ah, I just saw somebody, Mr. Ewere is my mentor and is watching this call. I am honored to have you. I am honored to have you here, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate. So, um, he's a legend, actually. He's an actual legend. I learned most of these things from him. So, this is the endpoint, right? We need to, the public endpoint. The thing about App Runner is I would almost call it serverless, right? Because it handles most of the underlying infrastructure for you. You don't really have to be configuring things like you're configuring EC2 and all of that. You just need to specify some parameters and it does everything for you, load balancing and everything actually. So um, I've clicked on this link and voila, we have this application here. And for those who are just joining, this is something I'm currently working on. Uh, It's a an AI powered social media automation platform. So I'm creating this for people like me who do not like to like we have content to post, but we don't like to go on social media and post them. So this is going to what this is doing is we have an agent that helps you like a social media manager. So the only thing you need to do is just to give it an instruction and it's going to plan your entire social media calendar for a month. It plans everything, creates the images, creates the videos, creates all the content you need. What you just need to do is just to check and verify what you want it to do. This will be coming up. We should have the first version by next month actually. So I'm just going to log in and we've done everything we said we would do. Let me open this again. And to be very sure if I've stopped sharing, let me just check. I'm still sharing my screen. Okay, good. So we said we were going to containerize the application. We did that with Docker and then pushed that container to, that image to ECR. And then we said we were going to deploy, and then we deployed to App Runner. And we deployed a Next.js app, right? So we've done everything we said we're going to do. And this is actually a very much live link. This link is live. Let me just send it to you. Um, Put that in the chat. Anybody can access this. Yep. Uh, yes. So this is still a work in progress. I'm just going to sign in. Oops. That's a fake password, actually. That's actually fake. So I'm going to delete this account anyways. You guys have seen the password. Yeah, so this is what we have now. Most of the services are not really working. The only thing you can do right now is just to you have a dashboard and then you can try to um, connect your social media account, which is going to fail because I just started working on this project anyways. But the fact is, we learned how to actually containerize an application and deploy it to AWS. Um, thank you so much. So that's all from me. If you have any questions at the charts, I'll just stop sharing. Any questions? So I'm just going to assume you guys already know everything I'm doing. So my target audience is wrong. My target audience is wrong. If I have professionals on my stream, I'm not speaking to the right people. Questions, please. Just going to check my messages because some people might not want to ask public questions. Let me just quickly check. Mission accomplished. All right. Sorry about the disruption. Sorry about the disruption. Okay, so Kunle says length and relent. Um, so I'm not going to believe what Kunle said because I'm sure he knows exactly everything I'm doing. So I don't believe you, Kunle. You're not my target audience. But thanks for the support, anyways. Um, with no questions, I'm going to end this stream, and I promise next week we would have someone who's going to manage the everything on the streaming side and just allow me to do my presentation next week. And we'll be having more like this every week. We go into more um, technical topics, more real world scenario kind of topics, hands on as usual. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your patience.